when you're working as a manufacturer or a distributor of one specific instrument, you can't really fine tune people's needs as much as you can if you've got the whole palette, right? So that's what I really enjoy about retail is that I can sit down with one-on-one with a customer, really listen to what kind of player they are, what their needs are, what they're trying to do with the horn, and cater an instrument to them.
This episode contains adult language and adult humor.
Since when have trumpet players ever been considered adults?
If you are easily offended by these types of conversations, consider switching to the oboe. Welcome to the Trumpet Gurus Hang podcast. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. My guest for this episode is Adam MacBlane. Adam, well, he's all about finding the right tool for the job. After receiving his Master of Music and Instrumental Performance degree, Adam shifted his focus from being behind the bell to the manufacturing and marketing side of the trumpet world. His deep dive into the art and science of trumpet design has given Adam a unique perspective that he uses in his company, Niche Trumpets, to help players find the right horn for their specific needs. So, pour yourself a big glass, pull up a chair, and let the hang begin. And it is time for yet another exciting, entertaining, and educational episode of the Trumpet Gurus Hang. As always, we try to bring you the best, and right now I got one of the best in the biz, one of my good friends, Mr. Adam MacBlane. Adam, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to catch up with you. We met each other. Man, when did we meet each other? It was a number of years ago.
It had to have been ITG at some point.
ITG, yeah, definitely.
Were you at Warburton or were you working doing the accessories side?
I was helping out at Warburton. So I think the time that we actually really kind of got to know each other was in Anaheim because Terry's booth was right across the room from yours, so it's like you and Mike were there, and every spare moment was spent coming up with some level of mischievous activity.
We had to keep ourselves busy, man.
Yeah, between you, me, Mike, and Tommy. So,
you want to know how that story, how Tommy originated?
Yeah, so maybe people aren't hip to Tommy, the high note police. So let's hear about that.
Well, I mean, naturally, ITG is kind of full of a lot of that the high note squealers and whatnot. And so, as kind of a comic relief, Mike bought me an avocado. Because I have issues while traveling sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And he said avocado gets things moving along. And so this avocado was just sitting there for way too long. And so we couldn't do anything with it. And so Mike had this stick because we had Starbucks, and he just kind of stuck it right up the avocado and proceeded to draw on it and made this little character named Tommy. So. And it's been with us ever since.
Tommy the high note police, yes.
Right.
and Tommy certainly gets a workout at conferences because, like you said, there's if you're going to try out a horn or a mouthpiece, you got to do what you got to do. So
yeah, it's just fun that way.
Yeah, exactly. So since when I met you, you were with P Mauriat. And you've transitioned. You've done a couple of things kind of since that point, and now you have I find to be a really kind of fascinating business going. So what got you from where you were to where you are now, and kind of what's your vision of what you're doing?
Sure. It's a matter of kind of being in the right place at the right time. Where all the moving pieces work together. And, I was finishing up my grad school and at University of Northern Colorado. And it just so happens that the retired saxophone professor from that school, Mr. Roger Greenberg, he was distributing P Mauriat at the time, P Mauriat saxophones. And so Alex Shea, the CEO from P Mauriat, he was looking for an American trumpet player to come to Taiwan and represent his brand. And I was graduating, and so he called Dr. Roger Greenberg. He called Dr. Murray, my teacher, and said, "Hey, how would you like to go to Taiwan?" and the rest is kind of history. I moved to Taiwan for 3 years and was working with the instrument manufacturers that are all part of P Mauriat, the conglomeration of manufacturers there. And it's been a journey from there. And then went back to United States and worked for the distributor. And then from there, started my own company doing retail. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the world of trumpet retail. I mean, that is not retail in general is not for the faint of heart. But when you get into such a niche market, notice how I did that.
Right.
It makes it even that much more challenging. So, what made you kind of decide that you wanted to go into the retail side of things, more than some of the other stuff you were doing?
I really enjoy working with many different trumpets. Every trumpet has kind of a place in someone's home, even if it's not necessarily something that that I would play on a day-to-day. So when you're working as a manufacturer or a distributor of one specific instrument, you can't really fine tune people's needs as much as you can if you've got the whole palette, right? So that's what I really enjoy about retail, is that I can sit down with one-on-one with a customer, really listen to what kind of player they are, what their needs are, what they're trying to do with the horn, and cater an instrument to them. So I really enjoy that process. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of interesting to me that you kind of bring together so many different skill sets. So obviously, as a player, so it's not like, when you go, like I remember when I bought my first trumpet, it was, you go to the local music store, and you don't know who that person is that's selling to you. You don't know what their knowledge is. You're assuming that they're knowledgeable since they're working in a music store, but odds are they're probably a guitar player or a drummer. So one, you're buying something, you're buying a product, or you're getting help from someone who actually plays the instrument. So that's one skill I think that's crucial. But then your background in working in that development side and in that manufacturing side gives you a different insight into the processes that go into making a trumpet and understanding how those all come into play. And then you pull that together, and then obviously you have this love of people, and you like helping people, and you like kind of that problem solving sort of, like how do we find the
Yeah.
best combination for somebody? So I think that's kind of a really interesting mixture of skills. And I can't imagine not wanting to go to someone with that kind of a background, because there are very few people who have that.
Sure. Yeah. I love it. I enjoy what I do. I've only been doing the niche trumpet thing for 2 years now, and I had the impeccable timing of opening the web store February of 2020. So I don't know if that's for better or for worse, really, because I mean, it was e-commerce, and I didn't open a brick and mortar, thankfully, because that would have just been a disaster. So I've only been doing it a short amount of time, but man, I really enjoy the clientele that I've had so far. Really outstanding people, and that's the thing about the music industry that I love the most, is that I haven't really had too many bad experiences working with people. There's just so many wonderful individuals, even if they're amateurs or just starting out or comeback players. They're very invitational about their life and getting to know you, and just overall a pleasant experience, as opposed to maybe working electronics or something where people are a little more entitled.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I think being specialists as we are, that it certainly is. It's reassuring to know that someone has got your back, and I like what you're doing with, like you said, having the full palette.
Yeah.
And it's certainly easy to just be a dealer or distributor for a single brand. And yeah, not that anything's wrong with any one brand,
Right.
but like you said, there are just certain things that that are going to speak to an individual player, and having those tools in your arsenal certainly certainly are beneficial. So let's do a role playing sort of thing, or
Okay.
a scenario here. So someone like I come up to you and I go, hey Adam, look man, I message you and like I'm looking for some new gear. I'm just not happy with my horn, or I just hit the lottery, and I want to blow some bucks on some new brass stuff.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, like sign me.
You came to the right place.
Yeah.
Look at that.
When you're going through like trying to fit a horn for somebody, what are some of the things that you take your customer through?
Sure. Number one would be, what are you currently playing? And what kind of music are you playing? What bands are you involved with? And where do you see yourself going in the future? Like, do you have a certain sound in mind? Do you want to sound more like a certain individual? Those are all really important things to consider. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then, yeah, cater it from there, because some people, they like, they may not know what they like, but they know what they want to sound like, or they know what's not working for them on their current horn, right? And so that's an easy factor. Is if I know exactly what they're playing, then I could better understand what combination of parts are gonna work best for them, whether that be materials or the taper of the bell, the damping of the horn, the weight of the horn, whatnot, and then just kind of go from there. And sometimes it's a trial error, and I'm willing to work with people.
Yeah. And it is such an individual process, and if there was one perfect horn and one perfect mouthpiece, then everybody playing on
everybody would have it.
Yeah.
Some people claim to have that, but I don't know about that. But
yeah, well,
good for them. I'm happy for them.
Yeah. Now, if they figured it out, then God bless them. But no, it's the all of those different components, and as someone who's been playing trumpet for way too long, I should be way better than I am, considering how many years I've been playing this damn beast.
Yeah.
But it's only in the past few years that I've really begun to understand more, basically just scratching the surface on the effects of manufacturing, the materials, like you're saying, things like damping, the tapers and things like that. It was just, because before it was just like, oh, okay, medium, large, or extra large, and
Yeah.
And maybe you could get a sterling silver bell, or the reverse lead pipes were the big thing, but there weren't a whole lot of people who could explain, or I don't want to say could explain, but were willing to explain how all these different components come into play in the design of the horn, and how one change will create this cascade effect in your horn and how it responds. So I mean, what kind of got you going in that direction of basically being the horn geek that you are today?
Sure.
and then sharing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I never was like that, and I kind of would shy away from that as much as possible, because I was just kind of a player that I knew that I wanted to connect with the horn without thinking that the horn is going to be doing all the work for me. Like you don't want to be always in that retrogression where you're going for the next best thing. So I never really thought about it until I had to think about it. And it was once I got into the industry and I was play testing horns for P Mauriat, the horn wasn't working for me, and I didn't know why. And so that's where my love for understanding it better, the science of it, really began to take hold, because I wanted to figure out, well, why is this not working? Because I have a job to do and I need to make this trumpet better, and it's just not working for me. So doing a lot of research on my own, and then ultimately it came down to just playing a lot of horns. Playing a lot of horns, because I go to every show, and you go and you play every horn that's at that show, and just asking a lot of questions. What's different about this horn compared to the other horn, and then playing them side by side and kind of taking a mental note of what's going on there, right? And then trying to apply that, talking to the manufacturer, saying, hey, I think this is the right approach to this horn. Could you do this? And then seeing the results, getting the new prototype back, and seeing if that worked or not. So trial and error too.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So who are some of the people that have been kind of instrumental in you gaining this knowledge? I mean, do you have any kind of mentors in this area?
The manufacturers in Taiwan are really exceptional at what they do. And they've always been very kind and open to hearing new ideas, especially from artists and the professionals that play them. So one name that comes to mind is Mr. Lee, or he goes by Carl, but it's Li Xianshen to me. And he's the owner of Carol Brass, and his son Whaley are very very passionate about what they do, and have been very very pleasant to work with trying new things and seeing if they're successful or not. And also, I mean, during my tenure at P Mauriat, I read a lot of Reynolds Schulke and his writings, and to see kind of what he had to say about plating and versus lacquer, or the different materials, and how the different materials affected the way an instrument plays.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so yeah, well, as you're talking about Carol Brass, and Carol Brass being a Taiwanese based company, there's a whole, I don't want, how do I say this? A lot of people don't give a lot of credit to the Asian-based instrument. Now, obviously, Yamaha, being Japanese-based. But I mean, I remember when Yamaha first came out, I mean, not first came out, but like when it started to make a splash, they caught a lot of crap, because it's like, but I hear the same thing, like about Carol Brass and some of the companies that are making instruments in China or other countries, and it seems to me, I mean, because I have a background in things that are tied into Asian culture, and there's certainly some cheap knockoffs that are made in China and Taiwan and stuff like that, but there's some really fine craftsmanship that goes on there, and there's a lot of the technology that you're using is actually pretty advanced compared to what people think about. So I mean, what has your experience been like working with Carol? I mean, and what do you say to people that like, well, it's just Taiwanese crap?
Well, and I think that was kind of a bias that people probably had still, like 10 years ago even, but I would say to those individuals, just try it, and you'll see right away that that's not true. And really give it a shot. I mean, it's the same thing with Yamaha. If it was like 30 years ago, Yamaha, yeah, what they were making copies, right? They're trying to just like the Chinese do now, they're trying to copy what's successful as best they can without really putting any ingenuity into the design. So I think that's where Taiwan might have been when they started doing that. Like, I know that it was like that in the saxophone world. They were trying to copy the Mark VI, and so there's a whole business that will do just the bells. And then there's another business that will do the body of the saxophone, and then another one that will do the key work. And they would all work together as a collaborative. So it was like that too in Taiwan, and I think that's where Carol Brass really started to shine. Was they were making OEM for a lot of companies, and a lot of companies you've probably heard of, and then they started breaking off. Because their original name is Hakusangaki. That's what their real company name is. And then they decided to make their own brand called Carol Brass. And then once they started doing that, so when they started getting outside the box and really listening to artists, trying to cater to artists and professionals, and changing the design. And that's where great instrument companies really start to shine, is that they are doing things that are unique to the mold. And I feel Carol Brass, you give their new instruments a shot, and you will tell that no, that's not a Bach copy, that's not a Yamaha copy, it's something completely different. And that's what's exciting about it, is that they can make your own horn. They can make something very special just for you, and they're willing to do it. They have very fast turnaround. So yes, it's exciting. They're like the new. A lot of people refer to them as the cancel of the Far East. They're like the new cancel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. It's whether it be in the trumpet world or in anything, the way that society tends to work is we have this thing where we like to root for the underdog. Yeah. Until the underdog becomes successful, and then we hate them. It's like the Starbucks phenomenon, It's like everybody, like, oh, this small brand, and everybody's all into it, and then suddenly becomes this megalith, and then everybody wants to tear it down. So I mean, when we see that with like the standards, the big names that we have in instrument manufacturing. I mean, obviously, you can't talk about trumpets without talking about Bach, because Bach is, that is the name with the longest in terms of, certainly, the Selmers and things like that. But Bach, when we talk about Bach, that's something with a solid history. Yamaha has gotten to that point where it's like it's usually one of the top brands that people will think about. Some of the older ones like Selmer kind of, Selmer dropped off until the mergers and things like that. But so you have these brands that establish themselves, and they've gone through these periods of innovation, and then just kind of like resting on their laurels a bit, and then until somebody comes up and is like starts kicking their butt a little bit, and then it's like, oh well, we got to start innovating, we've got to start thinking about these things. So I think that but especially from the capitalistic society that we live in, having the competition is a good thing. I think the more horn manufacturers that we have, and especially as you started getting to in like more of the, like you were talking about doing like custom work, that's that's a market that really needs to be serviced, particularly for those of us who are not big name entertainers. Obviously when you're a Wayne Bergeron or someone with a big name like that big pull, it's a lot easier to get someone to design a horn for you than it is when you're Adam MacBlane. So and we don't have the money to pay for the R&D. So I think that's a really interesting kind of niche. So here we go, throwing that in again. And another,
it comes back again. That's all.
Yeah.
It's catchy.
It's an interesting niche market, for a company to start to delve into. So, like with, I'll just go back to, since we're talking about Karen, we're talking about customization, stuff like that. You've been working with them and with Michael Williams, who we were talking about earlier, in developing his new horn. So, what was that process like?
Well, it's actually the horn right behind me. It's still in the works. We're still working on it. In fact, we just spoke this morning to go over the next stage, the next step of the process. It's fun, man. I the 655 trumpet that he plays right now, that was my take on the original P Mauriat 600 trumpet, right? And so Mike picking that up and really digging it made me look back at it and be like, okay, what made that horn work? What made that horn work for him? And then can we recreate that lightning in a bottle? That's a that's a really tough process, because everything changes in 20 years, or 10 years this time. It's been 10 years since that horn came out. And sometimes there's some stuff that they used to do that they don't do anymore, or and it's like that constantly with every manufacturer. So sometimes going back and trying to emulate something that's already been done is impossible. So it's a delicate process, but it's one that we're approaching with care and with time, and we hope to have something come out within the year here.
Mm-hmm.
But how's the process? It's fun because it's Mike, and Mike's just fun. Mike's just a fun guy.
Yeah, he's one of a kind. He certainly is one of a kind. So, I mean, with this horn, without letting too many trade secrets go, what are some of the things that you're trying to bring to the table with it? What are some of the characteristics that you're trying to capture?
The biggest one is that the heart of the horn is strong, like heavyweight. So like the valve section itself is heavyweight, while the rest of the horn is light but stable. So like the bell can't be too lightweight because then it's too much vibration, too much zing, and it doesn't have that core of the sound that you're looking for. So we're just trying to fine tune that and make sure that all the braces are in the right places, and that the materials are consistent, and the weight is consistent too. Because just the smallest change, like one brace being too far back, can dramatically change the way a horn resonates, in what nodes that it's pressing up against or hitting as the sound travels through the horn. So it's also a trial and error thing too. It's like, well, I hope we get it right. But that's why I trust Mike. Mike will tell me, truthfully, be like, well, this just isn't right, and then I got to go back to the drawing board. But that's what's going on.
Have you helped been part of the design process for anybody else, like designing a custom horn?
I've had a couple clients over the past 2 years here, not really designing a horn, but more just like picking and choosing materials. That's the fun part about working with Carroll Brass, is that I can change the lead pipe material, I can change the slide material, the inner or outer slide material, the bell material, the taper. So that's more like I don't know if you call it designing, because I didn't really make the design, but it's more like a tailor process, Yeah.
I mean, I could almost see like having a customizing shop, where the tweaks could be made, because God, like I said, that's a freaking rabbit hole you can go down like super quick. But I mean, I didn't realize the amount of difference that bracing made until I was getting my horn built, and Terry Walberton built my horn for me, and I was in his shop as he was building the horn, and we were playing with the placement of the braces and things like that. And I'm like, holy cow, this is really it's interesting, it's exciting, and it's scary at the same point. Especially when you're someone like me that once I start experimenting with something like that, then it's real easy for me to start going, well, what if we do this? What if we change this? What if we change this?
Yeah.
And it's like, some point you just got to say, okay, let's go with it. If not, you're never gonna get anywhere. But if somebody is looking at their horn, so let's take the two most common scenarios, being like the commercial player and the classical or legit player. So if I come to you, someone that's playing a lot of horn band stuff, and I need something that's going to have that focused sound that's going to have a lot of higher overtones, so that it can ride above the ruckus of the rhythm section. What are some of the things in terms of like, let's say like the bell material and bell flare that people want to think about, like, okay, well, maybe this is something I can consider changing. And then, the opposite, then when you're more of that classical player and you're wanting the lower overtones and more of that broader sound, what kind of things are they going to be wanting to look for?
Sure. When it comes to sound concept or projection, it really comes down to the player, what kind of player you are, because the same kind of player, no matter what you throw in front of them, can sound the same way if they're playing the same, like, mouthpiece, for example. So when it comes to like changing the material or the flare, I think it's a amount of player preference. Like, do you like resistance towards the front of the horn? Do you like the resistance towards the back of the horn? And that's where something like the flare of the horn really comes into context. The bell material, if you're looking for something really brilliant, like phosphorus bronze is a very brilliant bell material, and then yellow brass would be the next most well balanced material. So, I mean, yeah, I would really have to listen to the player and see what kind of mouthpiece they're playing too, because some people, they just have a brilliant sound and they play a tank of a mouthpiece. Like, Alexi Barrow, he when I first started working with him, he had that. He just has such a brilliant sound naturally, that the heavy weighted horn with the big mouthpiece receiver and strong bell, that really helped him kind of tame the beast, right? So I mean, that's where it is a rabbit hole, right? It can get really tricky, and so that's why I think it's important that each player kind of is different, is treated uniquely.
Yeah. All right, cool. So how about for you as a player? I mean, what are your preferences?
Sure. I like it simple, man. I like it super simple. I like a horn that's just all yellow brass, and it's middle of the road. It's consistent, and that way there's not too many moving parts or variables in the equation. I can just play very very easy and efficiently. Yeah. Yeah. Tried and true.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it seems like there are so many designs that have been that cater towards a specific style of playing, and by that I mean, like, you have horns that are designed for like the player who wants to be much more efficient. So, players like, Bobby and Roger Ingram and people like that want that tighter, especially up front, and using, like, some using a straight, like I think Roger uses a straight medium, Bobby uses a step bore. But then you have other players who are just like, just give me as much space as I can fill up, and so they want that gear to be super, super big or super, super heavy. And then obviously you're going to have things that are kind of like trying to play both sides of the fence. So would you put yourself more in the camp of that you want that slightly tighter, more resistant feel, or do you like that wide open blow?
Yeah, I prefer the resistance up front. So that's why I don't like trumpets most of the time to have a circular tuning slide. I like the D-brace slide, and then like a 37 bell if I were to play Bach, or I play Yamaha 6335H. That's my horn that I've had since I was how old was I? 15, and it's just what I'm used to. I really enjoy that compression, but at the same time, it's not a lightweight bell, because a lightweight bell can sometimes be a little too much brilliance, right? A little too much bark, and it loses that core. So that's my preference. But there are other individuals that if you look at the bell and feel the bell of the Bobby shoehorn or the LA, it's a lightweight bell. It really sings. I think the LA is more of a 72 flare, but that Bobby shoehorn, it's made for efficiency. It's a medium bore. It's just it's easy to play, but that's the kind of horn that would take me like a month to get used to, and then even then I'm not sure I would like that, because sometimes I like to get aggressive. Like sometimes I like to just get aggressive with the horn, and that kind of horn I think would just would fight me in my inefficient ways. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's funny because I just, when I had my horn built, I had it designed specifically to have that like super, super tight up front and just, open up. But I just recently found myself, I didn't have access to my horn. What happened is I left it somewhere where I shouldn't have left it.
Oh no, what happened?
I was visiting my sister, and I took my horn with me because I had, some gigs coming up, and I couldn't take the time off. I needed to work on some stuff, and I left my horn there. I left, my wife and I got in the car and drove off,
Okay, so it's safe at least.
It was safe.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Fortunately, it was in my torpedo case. So that made shipping the shipping was expensive, but I wasn't worried about the horn getting jacked up in the process, Right. But so I had to use my old horn, and my old horn is a mid 80s Calet, his New York. That was it was a large bore horn, very, very open blowing, and suddenly I've been E's have been squirrely for me for a while, all of a sudden I just say I'm either overshooting or undershooting, and I played that horn and it's like they locked in. I'm like,
home base.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Spent all this money on this new gear, and now I'm back to my old stuff. So yeah, it's kind of interesting because what I do enjoy about it is that fact that I can kind of step into it a little bit, and it'll take everything that I can give it. The downside of that is that if I play that way too much, then I'm fried really quick. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's the large boards are nice, they're fun when you first started playing it, and it's my sound's opened up and it's a little more buttery, and then you get to the gig and you're 15 minutes and oh damn, this is a bad choice. The large board was a bad choice.
Yeah, it's like I had a horn. It was one of those boutique European horns. And it was a beautiful horn. I miss it. I mean, it was so beautiful. It had a shot blasted palladium finish with a gold
palladium.
Yeah,
wow. I've been looking for somebody that can do that, man. That's nice.
It was a beauty, and it sounded like butter, but it was conical. It was a conical bore, and so it sounded great, but playing lead in a funk band, I really had to work. I had to work at it to get it to have that kind of sizzle in the upper register. And so it's like, if I had the money, I'd obviously have I'd have a garage full of horns, so depending on the gig, but trying to find something that works in the vast majority of scenarios. And fortunately for me, I only play a few types of gigs, so I don't need to be like someone like some of these guys that are in LA and New York, and that they're doing a whole lot. You never know what you're going to be playing on any given point during the day. I don't have a need for that level of versatility. So like for you, you with your personal playing, what kind of playing do you do primarily?
Going back to that versatility and just efficiency overall, the biggest thing that helped me was going from a 3C mouthpiece to a 3E, like playing the smallest mouthpiece possible. That took a while to do, because you're just so used to filling up the cup with your lips, that I was bottoming out on the smaller mouthpiece. And so that change over time really just improved everything, improved my range, my endurance, everything. So when it comes to versatility, like I could play lead, I could do the solo work, and I could do combo with the same exact mouthpiece. That was really nice. That was a good game changer. Did that answer your question? I'm sorry.
Good enough for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's the, you're saying like, the smallest gear that you can get away with. So many people, and these are all players that I have a great deal of respect for, say that's the ticket is, don't kill yourself if you don't have to. Now, granted, there are some people that play absolutely great on 3C. I always use the example of Jerry Hay. Jerry sounds, all the stuff that he did in the the 70s and 80s, all that crazy stuff he was doing on a 3C or a 3C based mouthpiece. Okay, fantastic. That works for Jerry, but that doesn't mean that's going to work for everybody else. And the thing about the intrusion, that was always my problem. And I played for years. I played mouthpieces that were literally too big for me because I kept bottoming out. So instead I would go bigger, going, okay, well, my lips need more room. So I'd go bigger, not realizing that I'm actually just driving my lips into it, as if I'm playing really small, and I don't bottom out. I've never bottom out on the smaller stuff I'm playing these days.
Yeah, you force yourself to adapt to that change. So it really has to come from asking yourself, well, why am I doing that? Why should I play a smaller mouthpiece? And for me, it was evident that there was something inefficient about my playing. And so if I go to a smaller mouthpiece and I'm bottoming out, then something is not efficient here. Something's not working right. So the great thing about playing a smaller mouthpiece now is that like last night I played a show, the Cinderella Broadway show, and I play a 3C on that show so that I have a little bit of room for error. You know what I mean? You're jumping around a lot. You need a nice big sound. So now that I'm used to playing a small mouthpiece, it's like tactical work. You're just that much better on a bigger mouthpiece if the situation calls to change your equipment, which in this case did. It would be a little too little too much if I played a small mouthpiece in that kind of a setting. So that way it's easier. You can go from small to big, as opposed to trying to go from big to small. Then that's when the problems start. Yeah.
So like what's your take on like switching mouthpieces? Everybody's got their different things on it. But do you try and stay within the same rim shape or rim diameter, or are you one of those people just like, pick up whatever you find and blow up?
I wish I could be, but no, I stay in the same rim diameter. because that way, every time I set the chops, it's always home base, right where it needs to be. But and then adjust the depth and the back bore accordingly if I need to make small changes there. And that usually coincides with the depth of the cup. Like, I don't have it right here, but 3E, I play with a KT back bore. And then my 3C, I play with an 8-star. So that way they suit each other well. And it's kind of a trial and error thing again, too, to figure out, well, what works for you, because what works for you is not necessarily going to be what works for anybody else. And your trumpet, what trumpet you're playing.
Yeah. They're just, like I said before, there's so many variables that are involved in that. And it's the nature of the system. I think that's where it gets to be interesting, is that making the one change it may not seem like it affects that much, but as you go further down the system, the effects start to multiply. And things like the gap, the tuning slide, like you're talking about, the D versus the rounded tuning slide, all those different things. Frank Green was talking to me about the effect of the difference between having an Amato water key and a traditional spring water key in terms of some nodal points. And it's just like all these little things.
Mike and I were just talking about that with his horn, trying to fine tune that. I mean, all those things, they stack up. But I think for a young or advancing player, keeping it simple, the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Really learn how to play the trumpet first. And I think that's where diving into this kind of stuff, you have to be really confident in your playing. You have to, because once you start changing parts, or if you're in a situation where you're A-Bing two things, if you're not set, if you're not solid and consistent, then it's a nightmare. You're never going to get anywhere or know the difference between the two. So so I mean, like, I enjoy the fact that I got into this realm of the trumpet, but at my core, I like to just keep it as simple as possible before I start adding too many factors involved, right?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I think that's really a great thing to say, is the joy of the simplicity, the benefit of simplicity, particularly for those developing players. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being able to trick out your horn, but like you said, if you don't have if you're not consistent in your playing and comfortable in your playing, then that could actually lead you down some bad paths, because you're looking for the horn to compensate for something that you can't do, as opposed to looking to the horn to augment what you already can do. And I think that's a different kind of vibe. And I kind of look at it as like, you're just trying to fine tune what you already have, but if you're already jacked up, changing the bracing or changing the lead pipe shape is not going to help you.
No, not at all. Go back to the kazoo, and you can learn so much more from that.
Yeah. There's a lot of
garden hose.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, Peter Bond is really big in, the singing, using singing and talking as the model for playing. And, that's true. You can generate the sound without the trumpet. The trumpet's just going to magnify it, and, it will magnify the good. It will also magnify the bad. So if you get as much of the noise out of the way, before the sound is actually being pushed through that horn, then that makes it that much easier.
And on that topic, that was my biggest hurdle when I was getting my undergrad, was quieting the noise in my head, right? Like mindfulness, right? Um, and I think that most people deal with that, and it's funny how something that isn't real can affect something that is so real, which is our sound and our ability to perform or execute what we already know. And it's such a viable part of being a great musician is quieting that noise or changing that noise to say something positive about what you're about ready to do. To stay involved, stay into the music. And like I would even have endurance issues where I would start doubting myself. I'd get halfway through a show or something. I used to play at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, and we play oompa music, and it's just 30 minutes straight on the horn, and you're playing a part, and you're looking ahead of the music, and you're seeing the high C's coming up, and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna fuck that up, you just you tell you so you're at the second that you have that thought into your mind is you're already done because you're not thinking about the music anymore. You're talking to yourself, right? So yeah, I know that might have been a different interpretation of the noise, but that's definitely
that's actually the biggest component of it. I mean, there's the noise that we get because of some mechanical failure, but then there's also the noise that comes out of the mental aspect of it. We start anticipating, worrying about what's either like when we talk about mindfulness, the idea, the difference between being the present, being in the past, and being in the future in terms of your thoughts. And, we actually have to be all three. You can't be, you can't do just one. That's not the way we're set up to work. But, when you're executing, that's the present. That's being in the moment. That's when you're doing your thing. But the past is, like our ability to remember and to learn from the past mistakes. It's like, okay, well, the last time I screwed the pooch on that, so I got to make sure that I'm centered, as opposed to when you get stuck in the past, it's like, oh my God, you get stuck in that negative feedback loop. And then the future becomes that anxiety of like, when you're looking at that high C coming up and going, oh my God, I hope I don't clam it. That prevents you from being like doing what you got to do right now to make sure you're in the right place. And I know for me, there are times when I'm playing, especially if I'm just improvising, whether it be with a band or whether it just be me sitting at home playing some Aerosoul tapes, and just playing around, that if I'm soloing and I'm not thinking about like looking at, oh, I've got to play this double C here or this, B or whatever. And I'm just playing and that's what I hear and that's what I want to do. And then it comes out and it's like, holy crap, where did that come from? But if I were to sit there and try to read a transcription of what I just played, I get my own way and I couldn't do it. So yeah, the way that your head gets into the way of what comes out of here. And then it's too often for us then to, instead of thinking, oh, what's going on here, we're thinking about, oh, what's wrong with my horn? If I had a different bell flare, or if I had, then I could do these things.
That's right. That's so true. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's everybody should learn how to improvise, no matter what level you're on. And for that exact reason, it wasn't really until I got out of grad school that I started trying to learn how to improvise, like really trying to learn the chord changes and stuff like that. And once I did that and really started learning my arpeggios all the way, 7, 9, 11, 13, etc., and connecting all the dots there when it comes to how a scale is composed, that's when my classical playing just blew up in terms of my own ability, just because I was actually singing the notes out, when I was playing, and understanding where those notes fit in with the progression, even if it's not standard or something like that, it's just a trumpet concerto, you're still thinking like that and thinking more musically connected. So
oh man, why do we do this to ourselves?
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah,
In the long run, it's fun to beat ourselves up, right?
Yeah. Exactly. There's something wrong with us, and that's why we have Tommy. So yeah, all right, well, God, we could talk about so much stuff for so long, talking about rabbit holes, but I definitely want to get into to our standard segments. And
okay,
all right, our first segment is brought to us by a good friend Michael Barkley of Barkley Microphones. This is called Sound Off, and it's about the approach to sound. And I definitely, I think I want to steer towards the equipment side, since that's where your your current exploration and your love right now is in the not the manufacturing, but helping people to find the right gear for their situation, which we'll talk about gear next. So don't go too deep in that. But when we think about the production of sound and the relationship of gear to that sound, what are some of the things that you think about, or that you advise people on considering to create the best, most beautiful trumpet sound possible?
Yeah, it's like sound and performance ability. I think it's a balance between what you want, because if you want a really lush sound that has a lot of overtones, or it's just that it's like some people call it dark, right? If you want that, you also have to make a sacrifice along the way of efficiency, at least in my experience. That's why I prefer the material like yellow brass, because yellow brass is kind of home base when it comes to performance to sound balance. But if somebody has a really vibrant sound and they don't need that, changing the material to have something with more copper in it is just it will help balance that out for them, and maybe they don't feel the effects that the difference in performance because of that characteristic change. Yeah.
Cool. That's great advice, as I could certainly use it. Knowing
get with me after this.
Yeah. All right. So our next segment is called Geared Up. And it is all about gear. So we're definitely going to get into the equipment. And Geared Up is brought to us by Venture Mouthpieces. Venture, where technology, design, and craftsmanship intersect. Use the code TrumpetGurus21 to get 10% off your order. And so as we talk about gear, and we've talked a lot about gear, obviously, today, but what I would like to talk to you about is someone's looking to try out some gear, whether it be in a local music store, or they're at one of the trade shows, or they're coming to you for a consultation. I think too many people, not enough people, know how to test gear.
Yeah.
How to make those determinations within themselves of even with what they're playing right now, of what needs to change, or what should I be considering changing. So what are some of the tips and tricks that you would give to people about testing their own horn or new horns to find the optimal setup for themselves?
Yeah, I'd say just remember that the trumpet is 7 bugles. So the more you go through the partial system, or not the partial system, but the changing from bugle to bugle, it's going to be the same from one partial to the next. So staying on like a middle C and just playing one note is like, I can know whether a horn's going to work for me in one note, and most people should. You just play a C as soft as you can, and then crescendo as loud as you can, and see where does the horn break. Does it maintain the pitch? Is the sound pleasant to your ear? And did it feel good when you did that? Did it feel like everything locked in, or did it feel squirrely? Because I mean, you don't need to go through all of the combination of notes to really try the whole horn out, to know at its root fundamental, is it a solid choice for you?
One note.
Yeah.
Well, that man, that was simple advice. I was expecting it's very complicated. Get out your tuner and your metallurgy kit and all that sort of stuff. And
I think keep it simple. You got a lot of horns to play. Just start with one note, and then you can start messing around, because then you can see, are the other bugles in tune, right? Or does this one feel really off? Because that could just be a simple valve alignment issue, right? Or it could be a manufacturing issue, and that's when you open it up and you look in there and say, oh yeah, no, it is, or it isn't. So yeah.
I like it. Keep it simple. All right. So final segment is brought to us by good friend Kenny Robinson at Robinson's Remedies, Rapid Relief for your sore and tired chops. Robinson's Remedy Rapid Fire Round. And I know, Adam, you have plenty of experience with Kenny and
yeah, Kenny, man, he's awesome.
Oh yeah, Kenny's a great guy. So the rapid fire round is a series of questions that kind of bounce all over the place, different topics, and let's just get your quickest response to these questions. Are you ready, Mr. Ed?
I will try. Yeah.
All right, here you go. First question for you, Adam. Who's the biggest influence on your life that is not a trumpet player?
My father.
All right. What is your favorite book?
Ooh, Zen in the Martial Arts by Joe Himes.
All right. What's the worst movie you've ever seen?
Can't remember. Probably it's a good thing, right? Worst. Everything. It could be, awesomely bad. Yeah. So I don't know. Worst movie. Oh, I gotta pass. I can't. It comes to mind. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
If you weren't a trumpet player, what would you want to be?
Well, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a waterman. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, I know, right? No, yeah. No, I like computers a lot. So probably something in computer science, or building computers. Really enjoyed. Yeah.
Cool. Next, Steve Jobs.
Not me.
What is your favorite drink?
Ooh, alcoholic or otherwise?
What is your favorite drink?
I enjoy a cool Coors Light in ice. I'm weird like that.
Yeah,
I know. I see that face you're making. It's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like Pijo or something like that. Let's see. You could have a dinner party, or you're going to have a dinner party. Then you're going to invite any three people in the world, family and friends excluded. Any three people in the world. Who do you want to have there?
Oh man, yeah. I saw you ask this to Mike. I was like, oh no, I don't know. I really am not sure. Family and friends excluded. Man, I don't really know, because then I wouldn't know them.
Well, I mean,
yeah, because
who would you want to have spend an evening getting to know?
Living, or
any three living people?
Oh, living. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Sorry, man. I got to pass. I don't know. Yeah.
All right. We'll go the second one. But any three people that are no longer with us, three people from history.
Oh, Hunter Thompson, for sure. Probably some artists. I don't know. Dali, that would be interesting. And Maynard Ferguson, of course. Yeah, the boss.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Lacquer, plated, or raw?
Ooh, they all serve a good purpose. I don't really like lacquered horns, especially if they're matte lacquered. But plating is nice for classical setting, and then raw is great for a combo setting. Sure.
So one of each.
Yeah, all of them. You should see the other room. How many trumpets I have.
only imagine. What's your favorite quote?
Oh man, yeah, I wasn't ready for that one either. I guess it would be Yoda. Do or do not. There is no try.
Okay.
I know, classic, real original.
Hey,
But I do love that concept. You do or do not. It's true.
Yeah. And to try immediately means that you don't believe
downing you're doing. Yeah.
All right. What is your greatest fear?
Ooh. Greatest fear. Probably dying. Because it's you never know what's gonna happen next.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. You could be granted one superpower. What would it be?
Ooh, to fly for sure. Yeah, that'd be fun and save on gas.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What aspect of trumpet playing do you find to be the most overrated?
Equipment. Bet you weren't expecting that, but yeah.
And what aspect do you think is the most underrated?
Voice. Yeah, singing.
Okay.
It's underrated, but I think for a lot of beginners, it is. We're hesitant to sing. We're bashful, right?
Yeah, that's very true. All right, you can go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice about music. What would it be?
Have fun. Not that I wasn't having fun, but when you're young, it's you can forget why you're doing things that you're doing. And it's just it's about self-expression, but enjoying and communicating and sharing that with the world. So
yeah. Okay. And while you're back there, you're going to give your younger self one piece of advice about life.
Don't give up.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And final question for you, Adam. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh man, that's a tough question because I try to avoid thinking about that, because then you might lose focus on finding what that is actually going to be, right? I mean, we all have to have an ego to some degree, but I prefer not to get myself wrapped up too much into that one. Hopefully it's a kid, one day when I find the right one. Yeah.
All right. Well, Adam, I certainly appreciate you taking time to hang with me today. This has been great. It's been really informative for me. You talked about some stuff that I really never thought about in terms of construction, manufacturing of horns, and I certainly appreciate it. And if people want to check out what you've got to offer, links in the show notes. Can make sure you reach out to Adam, and he will do his best to point you in the right direction to find the right trumpet for your niche of playing. So
thank you, Jose. Yeah, man.
3 plugs. Three. Count them. 3. It's a trifecta. It's a hat trick. So,
oh yeah.
I think that qualifies me for some niche swag.
Oh man, yeah. I you got it. I got some pens and stickers. Not a whole lot yet. I'm just getting my feet wet in this business, but
yeah,
you got it, man.
Nothing says swag like pens.
I can blame my mother for that one.
People still use those.
Yeah. See, yeah, she's a respiratory therapist, so she used to always use pens, and so she's like, what people really like is pens. So I bought 200 pens, and nobody wanted them. Yeah. I don't know why. But there you go.
Yeah, well, I'll take a sticker. I've got room.
You got it, man. You got it. I'll send you a pack.
All right, sounds good. All right, so thank you very much for joining us for this episode of the Trumpet Gurus Hang. Make sure that you like and subscribe, share this with a friend, especially if you have a friend who's looking for some new equipment. Adam has dropped some really serious truth bombs for you, can really help you on your path to finding the right gear for your playing situations. And make sure you check Adam out, like him, follow him on social media. He also, I had to say this is kind of like a last minute plug for Adam. Adam is a tremendous photographer as well. So some of the work that he's done, just really, really beautiful stuff. So make sure you check him out and follow him, because you'll be impressed. He's a cool dude. If you have a suggestion for a future episode, future guest, future topic, just please drop me a note at trumpetgurus at gmail.com. And we love you. And if you're nice, we'll send you a pen. So thank you very much, Adam. And as always, folks, peace and slide grease. We out.
Thanks for hanging with us today. This podcast is all about creating deeper connections through our mutual love of music and the trumpet life. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast and also like and share this episode with a friend. We want to see the hang grow for show. Please support our sponsors and consider becoming a personal supporter of this podcast as well. Remember, for less than the price of a bottle of valve oil a month, you can keep this podcast moving smoothly. The Trumpet Gurus Hang is recorded at the Candy Factory, a co-working space and social club located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Jose Johnson is the executive producer. Post-production editing is by Mitch Bowers. Our opening theme song was composed and performed by Lexi Signor, and our closing theme music comes courtesy of The Greatest Funeral Ever. Incidental music is by Ethan Swayze and Jose Johnson. Graphic design by Ann Kirby of the Sweet Corps. The Trumpet Gurus Hang podcast is produced in collaboration with the So Good Lancaster Media Group.